About 6 years ago, I'm working at a small truck stop. I'd recently seen a horror movie and was talking about it with a coworker. I don't remember the name of the movie, but it was one with a Ouija board. So she starts telling me about how when her grandmother died, she used one and to try to talk to her and communicate. When she did this, from time to time, she thought she would see her randomly walking down dark halls and see her in the corner at night. I grew up Christian, and so I immediately said, "No, that's a demon." So she says, "No, it's not." I then rattle off things like, every time it shows up, does it somewhat scare you? When you try to get a good look at it, does it disappear? It never appears exactly like your grandmother, nor does it ever speak or sound exactly like her. Something's just off. She agrees, and so I pull up some internet explanations of demons online, and they fit this exactly. While I'm doing this, she gets a call from her husband saying that the whole entire house is shaking. He has the kids and they're screaming coming from the other end of the house, and she needs to come home now. So she starts her way home and I finish my shift. And this is where my whole night changes. I hop in the pickup. It's about 1 o'clock in the morning. I start home for about a half hour. As I'm going down the interstate, my truck starts handling really weird. It's almost as if I'm pulling a trailer or hauling a big load. Suddenly I start hearing a noise in the bed of the truck. I've heard this before, but I just can't place it. A few minutes go by, and I have a flashback of when my grandpa was hauling bottled calves. I could hear like the hooves on the middle of the bed of the truck. So I flip the light on in the bed of the truck, and I see nothing but fur immediately flying all over the place. I command in the name of Jesus for this thing to be gone. As soon as the words leave my lips, my truck swerves, like the damn thing leapt out of the truck or something. I continue home. I pull into the driveway, and I run to the door. Within 3 seconds, I unlock it and open it. Once I'm inside, I flip on the light switch and nothing. I ease my way to the breakers, I flip them on, the ones that have been tripped, and then I make my way to the kitchen for a can of Coke. And what I saw next scared me half to death. Every dish I owned, whether it be a coffee cup or a plate or a bowl, was pulled out of the cupboard and stacked up on the floor in a straight line to the back door. Considering my high-end electronics weren't stolen in the living room, either this had to be a demon in my home or the robber was still there. I ran into the bedroom and I grabbed my 12-gauge shotgun. It was between the mattress and the box springs. I started checking every nook and cranny in the house. Nothing. No doors were unlocked. No windows had been opened. Nothing was hiding in the closet or anything. Now I'm completely freaked out by now. So I sit down for a moment and I say a few prayers and I decide to let this thing just wash over. I don't want the fear to control me, so I decide that I'm gonna take a shower. So I leave the shotgun leaned up next to the wall within a short reaching distance. And of course, the moment I wash my face and close my eyes, the light completely go out in the whole entire house. I scrambled out of the shower, I grabbed some clothes, I grabbed the shotgun, and into my bedroom, I go in there and I lock the door. The bedroom is directly beside the bathroom, and that's also where the breaker box is. So I flip on the breakers, and I sit there watching the door, ready for anything. A half an hour goes by, and I start to calm down, and maybe it's just faulty wiring. There's too much on these breakers, and maybe it's just tripping. So I decide to settle in, I turn on my laptop, and I start browsing. I start trying to find something on Netflix, just to fall asleep to. And that's when I hear the hooves on the tile floor in the kitchen. I flip the safety off my shotgun so fast, and in that moment, I heard the damn thing running from the kitchen to my bedroom door, smashing every plate and every dish on its way, and half a second later, boom, it hits my door. I immediately, just out of nowhere, instinctively yell, "I'll fucking kill you!" And it responds with nothing but laughter. Childlike laughter. Now, to paint a picture for you, I'm in a small room. My laptop is illuminating it well enough that I can actually see everything. Just about the time that my eyes start to get adjusted to everything and the fear starts to calm down, I'm staring at the door intensely. And I watch as this black, formless cloud slowly flows under the door and materializes against the wall at the foot of my bed. As soon as I saw this, I dropped the gun and I immediately grabbed my Bible from the nightstand. The only thing I could do or come up with was to just set it at my feet, and I started praying and hoping that the Bible would just keep it back. So roughly for 2 to 3 hours, that's all I did, while the black mass of darkness stood peering at me, not moving a thing. All it did was stand there, and all I could hear from it was laughing over and over and over. When daylight came, it slowly disappeared like a fog, like this slowly got thinner and thinner and thinner. After that day, I had myself and my home cleansed completely. When we did the cleansing, we made it to the last entrance of the house, and we forced it to leave. And as we did and we cleansed that area, the screen door literally opened on its own as it left, and we blessed the door behind it. I lived in a haunted apartment about 10 years ago. The last year there was really bad and creepy. My daughter always told me there was like a blonde-haired man in the corner of her room that watched her. She was never really scared of him, and I never saw him, but felt something walk by me. Then comes the day when I'm sitting on the couch, watching TV, and I smell something horrific next to me. Now the weird thing is I don't have any sense of smell. I never have. My daughter is the same way. But I could smell something that physically I believe was so rotten and evil. So I decided there had to be something really, really bad next to me. So I laid down and I imagined a tornado going counterclockwise and imagining the powerful white light it put out everywhere across the apartment. The drawers, the closets, the cabinets, everywhere, until you couldn't see anything but the white light. And it worked. No more nasty smell. Then I looked towards my daughter's bedroom, and there he was, looking at me, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, and he nodded his head in acknowledgement. Then I woke up out of that meditation, and I knew that she had been right all along. He must have been like a protector, because that tornado had absolutely no effect on him whatsoever. But I can't help but think that maybe, just maybe, it's something more evil and sinister. Because ever since then, things really weird and creepy have been happening around the house. Shadow figures and everything. And that horrible smell, every now and then, I can still smell it in little spots around the house. I don't know, but I know that whatever it is has something to do with that blonde-haired, blue-eyed man that haunts our apartment. I was haunted by 2 demons growing up, and 2 different experiences. The first one was in my sister's room. I was probably 11 or 12 at this point, and for some reason I had to sleep in my sister's room. We may have had a family member staying over or something, and They slept in my bed, which was bigger. I was terrified. I didn't want to sleep in there in my sister's room because she'd been waking up crying with nightmares every single night. I remember I was so scared that something was going to happen. I was looking around the room for a while until I finally started to calm down, and nothing was happening. There was a huge, tall box in the middle of the room from a fridge we'd just recently bought. And I looked over at it, and I noticed that there was a pitch black shadow leaning next to the box, peering over at me. And as soon as I saw it, it hid behind the box. As soon as this happened, my vision got blurry and distorted, and I couldn't scream for maybe like 5 minutes or what felt like an eternity. Then it went away, and I ran out of the room to tell my parents. I read somewhere that pitch black shadow figures was like demonic. So this definitely scared me even more. The second time was my least favorite memory, and even talking about it or typing it gives me chills. It just makes me completely uncomfortable. At this point, I was maybe 13. I was in the living room laying on the couch, and I remember my parents were fighting about something in the bedroom. It was getting pretty bad, and it ended up moving into the living room where I was. They were screaming at each other really bad. Then, all of a sudden, my mom gets silent and closes her eyes and won't respond to my dad at all. All of a sudden, she starts saying she's Satan, that he's taken over her and won't let go, and telling my dad that he's an instrument and a sinner, that he should kill himself. Both of my parents were extremely religious at this point, so I can never imagine my mom faking this. She just kept saying all of these horrible things to my dad. So he got his Bible out and he kept reading passages to her, and she just kept laughing and saying that it wasn't going to do anything. All while lying there on the couch, I was scared to death, and my siblings were just peering down the hallway. They were way too scared to even come in. The absolute worst part, though, about the whole entire thing, was that she would go from saying horrible things to my dad, then she would turn and look at me, smiling with those horrible lies. If you've ever seen someone possessed, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And she would ask me things like, "Are you okay? Do you need anything? Are you hungry? Why do you look scared? I won't hurt you. I love you." Then she would go back to my dad and say horrible things to him. Eventually, my dad called someone from the church to read more Bible passages to her. And she locked herself in her room and she wouldn't come out. This was like a few hours later. It's never left me. As soon as I saw her eyes, I knew it wasn't my mom. Finally, she came out a few hours later and everything was normal. Like it had never happened. I'm 25 now, and I still wonder that thing that was in my mom, and it was being so mean and evil to him, but so nice to me. I just know it was a demon. We moved a few years later, and we've never had any more experiences like that ever. So I know that it was that house.